Hey guys, welcome to the Circle Test Solutions. So I'll go through these. Hopefully, I graded yours correctly. If not, come and show it to me and we'll look at it. If you missed one and you understand what you did wrong, then you just correct it and write a sentence what you did wrong, and be specific. I need you to rework the problem. If you just have like a few little things, I'm not going to give it to you guys. Okay, I got to see that you understand how to do the problem, and also have a sentence what you did wrong. So I will be looking at these very closely because I don't want to just give you points for you just copying down what I have. So I want you to explain your own words. All right, let's take a look. All right, so for number one, it wants the center. And remember, when we're looking at a circle equation, it's always y minus h squared plus, x minus h squared plus y minus k all squared equals r squared. So in this case, you notice we really don't have a number that you're subtracting from x or y. So really you're just having zeros, right? So this is I guess you could rewrite this problem as x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals, well, 5 squared is 25, so 5 squared. So in this case, your center is at 0, 0, and your radius is 5. And most of you got that. All right, so the next one, remember, so here, this is the x value of your center, which is 3. It's always in the form x minus h. This one is the y value of your center point, which is minus 5. And then the square root of 100 is 10. So this is the x value, this is the y value, and this is your r squared. And you're done. All right, now this one right here, we're centered at the origin right here, right? So that means we're going to have just x squared plus y squared. We don't have to have minus zeros, which doesn't do us any good. Now, we have to look at the radius, so I'm just going to count. So 1, 2, 3. So our r equals 3, but remember we have to square it. So 3 squared is 9. So there's the equation for that. This one has a center at x equals negative 4 or x minus 4 because you're at positive 4 here, and you go down 1 to y, so that has to remember it's always opposite. So it's plus 1 because you had to go down 1 on the y, and you had to go right 4 on x. Okay? And then your radius is 1, 2. So you square it and you get 4. So this is r squared. And we're done. And that's worth 2 points. Easy points there, guys. Easy points. All right. Next one is make sure we're on number 5. Okay, so on number 5, the first thing we wanted to do is we need this theta right here. Okay? So what do I have here? So I know I have a hypotenuse. This is the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent. So hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine. So from the given information, it looks like I'm going to have to use cosine. Now, I could have done the Pythagorean theorem and found the opposite, but why would I do that? I don't need it. So now I have cosine equals opposite. This is your opposite, and this is your hypotenuse, okay? So now I don't want cosine of theta, I want theta, so I have to do an inverse cosine. So if you took an inverse cosine of 3/5, I gave you plus 2 points. Now, when you do that, you get theta equals 53.1, but you're trying to find the measure of arc AB. The measure of arc AB is this entire arc here, and theta is only half of that arc. So you have to multiply that by 2. So you have to take 53.1 and multiply that by 2, and we get approximately 106. And that's our answer. So that was worth 2 points there. All right. So the next one is, okay, so this one, a lot of you got 105. because it's the same as these. These two arcs are the same. AB is the same as DC. Now, why are they the same? They're the same because chord DC is equal to chord AB, and they're both equal distance from the center point because they're right angles. So in this case, since the chords are the same length, their arcs that they intersect are the same length. So you had to tell me something y. So 2 points for the y part, and it had to do something with the two chords are equal, therefore the two arcs are equal. And then you just have to put the 105 there for the next 2 points. So that should be pretty easy. So a lot of you got this right, but you couldn't explain it, and I took 2 points off there. Okay? All right, next problem, number 7. Okay, so for number 7, you'll notice that they want to know the radius of the circle. Now, remember, the radius x, I could change the radius and move it down here so I make a right triangle. And this is going to be half of 16, so this is 8. So I just do the Pythagorean theorem right here, down here, guys. I just did the Pythagorean theorem. So I have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals 8x squared. 6 squared plus 8 squared is 100. And x squared equals x equals 10, right? And there you go. So this is just a 6, 8, 10 right triangle. So this is 10. And so if this is 10, this is also 10 because they're both radii. All right, so the key fact you need to know about this one is this angle here and this angle here are supplementary. We learned that at the very beginning. Okay, they're supplementary. So you add them together, they equal 180. Solve for x, you get 126. And that was just 4 easy points right there for you. Okay? All right, the next one. Number 9. Since this is a diameter, and I know it's a diameter because it's a chord that contains the center point, because they have a little point right there, that means this has to be a right angle right here. So, now this is an inscribed angle right here. Okay, and inscribed angles are always 1/2 of their intersected arc. So 1/2 of 70 is 35. So you had to divide 70 by 2, and you got 35. And then it's just the triangle angle sum theorem. When you take 180 minus 90 minus 135, and you get just 55. Okay? All right, this next one is, we know that this is a right angle because basically we have a radius intersecting at a point of tangency. So that's a right angle. This is 68. So 68 plus x plus 90 equals 180. So that gives us 22. So the key to knowing this, the whole key here is knowing that that's a right angle because it's a radius that intersects at a point of tangency. All right, the equation of a line. All right, so now the center point was pretty easy, right? Because this is your x value, and this is your y value of your center point. So this is h, and this is k. Okay, so in your equation, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So now we know that h is 7 and k is 0. So that's how we get the x minus 7 squared and y squared. Now, how do we figure out the 81? Well, we have to figure out what the distance formula is to find the radius, okay? So we have a circle here, and we have to figure out, okay, so what's the distance between these 2 points, the center and the point on the circle? So we need to use the distance formula. So we'll just do, so if this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. So we can just take x1, which is 7, minus x2, which is 9, squared, plus y1, which is 0, plus y2, which is square root of 77 squared. And then we can do that. Well, 7 minus 9 is negative 2 squared. And then 0 plus, this is the plus the square root of 77 squared. Okay. And then let's see here. So negative 2 squared is, well, that's 4, positive 4, plus the square root of 77 is just 77. Add those together, we get the square root of 81. Square root of 81 equals 9. So we know that r equals 9. So this is r squared. That's 9 squared, and that's how we get that 9. Some of you got these two things, but you didn't use the distance formula to get that. You had to use the distance formula there, guys. Okay, so that's the key to that problem right there, the distance formula, to get that equation. All right, next problem. Okay, this one was the one that got a lot of kids. So let me just go over my work here. Okay, so on this one, we have to complete the square. So what we did is I put all of my x's together. I rewrote the equation with all of my x's. Let me just do that. And then I rewrote the equation with just my y's next to it. Let me do that in green. Did the equation with all my y's next to it. And then I had this plus 35 here. Now, you could just move the 35 over to the other side now. That's fine. Or you can move it over later. So we kind of had to do the formula twice. Let's see here. So we had to do the formula twice. So this case, we had to do 8 over 2 squared. When that is 8 over 2 squared is 4. And then 4 squared equals 16. So we had to add and subtract a 16. So I added a 16 here, and I subtracted a 16 here. Now, you could have just added a 16 to the other side to 0, because eventually that's what you're going to do. Now, the next one for the y, I had to take negative 20 squared. So I take negative 20, and then I divide it by 2, and I square that answer. So that is negative 10 squared, which is positive 100. So I added 100 here, and then I subtracted 100 also. You could have just added 100 to both sides, or you can, if you do it on one side, you can add 100 and subtract 100, because that means you're adding 0. All right, and then I solved. I moved this 35 and this negative 100 over, and I got negative 35 plus 116 there, right? And that gave me 81. And then I factored them as perfect squares. I factored this. So what did we do here? We put this got factored as a perfect square to this. This got factored as a perfect square to this. And then this, and this all got moved over to the other side of 0, which gives me this, which gives me this. And then, so now your center is going to be x plus 4. That means your h is going to be negative 4. Y minus 10, that means your k is going to be positive 10. And then your r is going to be the square root of 81, which is 9. So negative 4, comma 10, and 9 is your answer there. Okay, that was a challenging one. A lot of people missed that one, but it was a challenge. That's, you can't have all easy problems on your test. All right, so this one, okay, so remember, this is an inscribed angle right here. So that's 63 degrees, and this is its arc. And what's the relationship between the inscribed angle and its arc? Well, you can say either the arc is half of the inscribed angle, or 2 times the inscribed angle is the arc. And that's what I chose to do. I had to multiply 2 times 63 is equal to the arc. So 2 times the inscribed angle equals the arc that it contains. And then it's just basic algebra. I'll let you study my algebra there. And doing all the math, I came up with about 31.6. Okay? All right, next problem. So a lot of reading here. Most of you got this, that on this one right here, you can't say it's a right angle. That's the key right here. This we don't know that that's a right angle. They said the measure of what do we have here? We don't know that that's a right angle. BC, we don't know that this is 90 degrees. So that's the key. We don't know that's 90, so we had to do it another way. I believe we said vertical angles, so these are equal. And so let's see here, how did we do this? So the measure of AB, we know it's a diameter, right? So we know that, what do we have here? We know that instead of 90, we know that these are vertical, right? The measure of arc ACD, is AD is a diameter. Okay, so let's see here. So the measure of arc, so the only difference is that we can't say that's 90. And then when we switch it up, we should get, I believe we get x equals 5 for our answer right there. Come see me if you have any questions about that for details. But the key is to know the difference is you can't say that that's a 90-degree angle right there. This is a mistake right here. You have to do it a different way with vertical angles. All right, so the last page we factored. So I just figured out that I took 4x squared and negative 3 and got negative 12x squared. And I figured that negative 4x plus 3x gives me negative 1x. So I just replaced the negative 1x with negative 4x plus 3x. So I just replaced it there. This got replaced with that. And then I factored out a GCF of 4x here. And I factored out a GCF of 3 here. I did factoring by grouping. And then I can see that I factored out an x minus 1. That's where I got that. And then I had a 4x plus 3 left over. And then when I solve, when I set them equal to 0, I get x equals negative 3/4 and x equals 1. So those were my two solutions. Now, when I do the completing the square, remember the first thing you need to do is you need to move your c over. So I did that by, what did I do? I added 3 to both sides. So I added 3 here, and then I want to get rid of this 4, so I divided everything by 4, and I got this guy right here. All right, now after that, what I did is I found this is my new C right here. It's negative B, it's B over 2 squared. So this should be negative 1/4 times 2 over 1 squared. Copy dot flip. This is copy dot flip here. And so I get 1/4 times 1/2 is 1/8. And square it, I get 1/64. And then I have to add that to both sides. I do the math, and I do the math here. When I add these two together, I get 40. I get a common denominator and get 49 over 64 here. The common denominator is 64. And here I factored this as a perfect square. The square root of 1 over 64 is 1/8. This comes down as a minus. The square root of x squared is just x. What did I do after that? Oh, I square rooted both sides. So let me just see here. Did I see it in my work anywhere here? So I had x minus 1/8 squared equals 49 over 64. And then I square rooted both sides, and I got x minus 1/8 equals plus or minus 7/8. And then when I did the math, I think I got, when I solved here, sorry, I'm running out of room, guys. Sorry about that. When I solve this, I get x minus 1/8 equals 7/8, and x minus 1/8 equals negative 7/8. So if you add 7/8 here, you get, if you add 1/8 to 7/8, you get 8/8, which equals 1. If you add a 1/8 here and a 1/8 here, you get x equals, what? We get 6/8, right? Negative 6/8, which reduces to negative 3/4. And those are your two answers. And we already knew those were your two answers when we factored it. All right. Quadratic formula. It's just, in this case, we just put x equals negative b. So I believe our b was -1. So that's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So 2 times 4, right? And so we did all the math, crunch it, you get 1 plus or minus the square root of 49 over 8. So you get 1 plus or minus 7 over 8. So you can say 1 plus 7 is 8 over 8, which equals 1. 1 minus 7 is -6 over 8, which equals -3/4. You reduce. All right, and then graphing, guys, you just graphed it and see where they cross. And it looks like, yeah, they're going to cross at -3/4. And they're also going to cross at +1. You need to show that nice parabola just like that. That came straight from Desmos. And I wanted you to label these points, okay? Some of you, I wanted you to clearly state that you had a -3/4 here and a +1 where it's crossing the x-axis. And you're done. So I hope this video was helpful, and just get those corrections into me as soon as possible. See you later. Bye.